I am Sabrina Santa Clara. I am an IFS therapist. I have been doing this work for, I don't know, almost 30 years. I saw Dick recently in Blue Spirit in Costa Rica, and we were kind of reminiscing about, oh my God, like I did my IFS training when he was still doing level ones. So I've been around a little bit. And, I'm a certified and a consultant and all that stuff. I primarily work now as a spiritual doula, which means that I integrate IFS, energy work, neo-shamanistic ritual, body work. So I kind of mix everything all together. IFS is definitely a root of my practice, um, within which spirituality and other methodologies kind of get incorporated. So one of my goals last year was I have been buying all my books on Kindle because I'm like, too many books, right? So last year I recognized at the beginning of the year, I have all my books categorized and I've got this one category that's currently reading. There were like 15 books in there. And I was like, okay, girl, you need to either shut these out or complete them. And one of them was a book on attachment theory that I had opened up, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago and kind of never really got into it. And it is a book called Attachment Disturbances in Adults, Brown and David Elliott. And in this book, they talk about the ideal parent protocol, which I had heard of preliminary, but hadn't really studied. So in this methodology, there are kind of three tiers of protocols. Some of them are specific to the therapist client dyad, but the one that really struck with me was this process called the ideal parent protocol. And so after I read the book, I thought, I'm actually just going to start working with this in my own system and see what happens. And the reason why is that so I have a pretty significant trauma history on an ACE score. I'm a 10 of 10. So I've had all the things, right? Ish. And by far the most pernicious, the one that has taken me the longest to really work with is really this growing up in isolation. So I grew up in an environment that was pretty dog eat dog. There wasn't really a lot of attachment. And so that has been the place in me that has been certainly that I've been working with continually. And in spite of many unburdenings, in spite of all the work I've done, it just sort of kept nagging and just sort of kept coming back. And so for some reason, this I think that because of this lonely little girl part, it really called to me this particular model. And it really consists of going back and creating the ideal parent for the child that they didn't get. Right. And so in some ways, what it is, it's a more elaborate version of the redo in IFS. Right. And so that's really what I've been working with. And what I have found is it's been really phenomenal, in feeling like it's really taken me out of that last little edge of loneliness. Now, and I'm not saying I don't still have loneliness when, I don't have enough people around me, right? But as far as the loneliness around wounding, right? Or that sense of just kind of feeling bad, right? That like I don't feel good in my own skin kind of feeling. It's been a really profound process. And so, I can't say that I have it perfected. I have a lot of curiosities about where we could go with this, but it's been such a phenomenal healing process for me, incorporated within IFS, that I want to share it as quickly as possible. I love IFS. It is the root of my practice. And, I see one of its limitations, right? And one of its limitations is also its beauty, right? Is that there is so much self-to-part relationship. Mm-hmm. And while there is an understanding and of guides, right? That's not really the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as I have deepened into not only my own spiritual practice, but also my work with IFS and my individual work, what I'm finding is there's a kind of a three-tiered thing that I need, which is, yes, the self-to-part relationship. I also need my community, right? That's extremely important. I can't just love myself. I also need other people to love me, right?
Yeah.
Every spiritual tradition, we talk about this. We talk about, in Buddhist traditions, we talk about Sangha. In Hindu traditions, we talk about Kula. In Christian traditions, we say, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am. So the understanding of this usness, right? This sacred community is really important to our well-being in this incarnation. And then the third component is the mystical, the divine, what we gave up when we became, science-based,
Mm.
and what we're deeply missing, right? Which is in some ways what psychedelics actually bring into, right? Is coming home to the bigger and the mystical as an important part of our wellness. Calling, I imagine it, I come from this mixed spiritual tradition. One of them is the Wiccan tradition, right? Which really has this orientation of calling into being, calling kindness into being, calling love into being, right? And so, is it possible to call into being, to evoke the exact guides, the exact parents that our younger one really needed? And I'm
Yeah.
finding the answer is a unequivocal yes. My parents could not attend to that part of me that was bicultural because they weren't, right? And so these heart parents, as I call them, right, can attend and connect in a way that my younger child really, really needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm getting to give her, I get watery eyed thinking about it. I get to give her the childhood that she didn't have. I get to give her the attendance that she didn't have. So it is definitely an expansion of the redo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as much as I can love that little girl, there are things that I, even in my essence, cannot give her. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot give her the experience of having a father,
Mm-hmm.
not a father. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have that in my system. I can give her nurturance, I can give her care, I can give her all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that these parent guides, these heart parent guides, can provide for her. And I've been working with it with clients and having the same results. Having the same results of, whoa, this sounds, at the surface it sounds kind of cheesy, like I'm just making things up, right? But the reality of all this stuff in here we could call made up, right? So it will be in part didactic, so there will be some teaching, right? This is a workshop that is for people who are trained in IFS, right? On some level, right? So we won't be going over a lot of IFS basics. We will be doing a brief review of attachment theory, right? We are asking people within the workshop to know their attachment styles. We'll be offering them a link to sort of do an online test. So if they don't, they can get some material on that. Um, and then we'll be doing a lot of exploring. So it is going to be experiential. We'll be doing some dyads and triads and coming back to the group. So there will be some creative arts practices. So it'll be a mixture of didactic, experiential, and I will, my thing is, I don't engage well in workshops where it's all talk for 5 or 6 hours. I get, after about 2 hours, I'm like wanting to do the dishes.
Earlier than that for me.
Right. So my experience in day workshops is about 5 hours, maybe pushing to 6 is about the most that my system can tolerate, even with engagement. So we've designed it to be 5 hours, and to be highly engaging.
Wonderful.
Right.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm really excited.
So
Yeah.
grateful that you are inviting this into your world, and looking forward to working with you and to meeting all the lovelies who want to come.